Some folks bring casseroles to welcome new neighbors. Lila Harper brought a ratty old couch stinking of damp mildew and a smirk that could sour lemonade, dumping it smack in the middle of our ranch road like it was her personal landfill. That's how the feud began on Dusty Trail Road, a quiet stretch of Texas dirt where trouble usually comes on four legs, not in a shiny SUV. I'm Clara, 52, born and raised on this land, and I've seen my share of dust-ups, but nothing like what Lila unleashed. It was a hazy Tuesday when I first spotted her. Lila's silver SUV gleamed too clean for our gravel roads, blasting pop music loud enough to scare the chickens. Her U-Haul trailed behind, stuffed with broken furniture and two tacky plastic flamingos poking out like they were trying to escape. New folks move to these parts sometimes, chasing peace from city chaos, and I figured she'd be no different. But Lila wasn't here to blend in. She carried herself like the world owed her an audience, and by dusk, she proved it. I was tossing feed to the hens when I heard tires crunching gravel. Through the barn slats, I saw her dragging a lumpy, torn couch from her U-Haul, leaving it where our road splits near the barbed wire gate. Like it was trash day and our field was her curb. I stormed to the house, steam practically rising off me. My father, Hank Dawson, sat on the porch, whittling a piece of oak like it had personally offended him. At 78, he's the kind of man who moves slow but thinks fast, a cowboy who's tamed wild horses and worse tempers. I told him what Lila did. He didn't speak, just stood, spat into the dirt, and nodded once. That's when I knew Lila had crossed the wrong man. By morning, the couch was gone. So was a busted recliner Lila had snuck out to dump in the night. I woke to Hank's truck roaring like it was ready to fight the earth itself. I ran to the window, still in my nightgown, and saw nothing but quiet. Curious, I jogged down the path, past the chicken coop, to the main road. There, on Lila's porch, was a masterpiece of spite, her junk couch, recliner, even a cracked lamp stacked like a Jenga tower gone rogue. Lila stood at her door, bathrobe flapping, clutching her yappy little dog, staring at the pile like it had insulted her mother. "This is harassment," she screeched, as if the furniture had marched itself there. By noon, Sheriff Tom Baxter rolled up, his cruiser kicking up dust like it was tired of the drama. Tom, a man who'd rather fish than mediate, sighed as he stepped out. "Hank," he said, tipping his hat, "I ain't saying I disagree with your style, but Lila's claiming trespass." Hank didn't flinch. "I returned her property. That's just manners." Tom rubbed his temples, muttering about early retirement. Lila wasn't done, though. That night, she posted a video to the town's Facebook group, showing Hank's truck hauling her junk, set to dramatic violin music with the caption, "Vengeful Cowboy Terrorizes Single Woman." It got 300 shares by midnight, mostly folks laughing, but a few newcomers took her side, calling Hank a bully. Lila doubled down, plastering private property signs across her lawn like she was guarding Fort Knox. Our mailbox overflowed with notes, some cheering Hank, others scolding us. My friend Ellen, who runs the local bakery, got a call from the school principal suggesting I skip the community picnic to avoid tension. Hank just shrugged and started tinkering with the old manure spreader in the barn. "Every story needs a twist," he said, grinning like a fox. I couldn't sleep that night, replaying Lila's smug face. Was she embarrassed, scared, or just playing a game? At 2 a.m., our motion light snapped on. I peeked through the blinds and saw Lila, dressed like a cat burglar, dragging a broken coffee table and dresser drawers to our road. She tossed them and sped off. This wasn't just dumping, it was war. Hank's no stranger to battles. He once roped a bull with a sprained wrist and a fever. Lila had no idea who she was poking. The next day, he asked if I knew where our old yard sale signs were. I nodded. "Good," he said. "Let's have some fun." Lila's next move was bold. By morning, her driveway was a crime scene, yellow caution tape draped over lawn chairs, a sign on her mailbox screaming, "Stalked by local menace, Hank Dawson." She even stuffed flyers in every mailbox for miles, warning of a deranged rancher with a vendetta. I was livid, but Hank just stirred his coffee, calm as a Sunday morning. The first to buy Lila's sob story was Mary, the pastor's wife, who showed up with banana bread and a plea for peace. Hank took the bread and said, "Mary, ever give a skillet back to someone who swung it at you?" She left, flustered. Then the school got involved. My daughter, Sophie, came home saying she'd been pulled from the rodeo team because Lila emailed the board, claiming our hostile environment was unsafe for kids. I was ready to march to Lila's house, but Hank had other plans. He called it Operation Potluck. Every Friday, Lila hosted a newcomer's dinner, peddling overcooked pasta and cheap wine to folks from the Nextdoor app, posing as the perfect hostess. We decided to crash her party. That afternoon, we planted a sign near the highway, moving sale. Everything must go, with Lila's address in bold. We parked down the road with binoculars and a bag of jerky. By 5:30 p.m., cars swarmed her lawn. A guy from Austin tried to haggle over her flamingos. Another carried off her wicker chair. Lila burst out, screaming, "This isn't a sale." She flung a plate of spaghetti at a minivan, yelling about domestic terrorism. The guests scattered, one tripping over her garden gnome. We laughed so hard we nearly choked on our jerky. But Lila was no fool. The next morning, her ex-husband, Greg, a slick Dallas lawyer, called, demanding an apology for emotional distress. Hank's reply? "Tell Greg I built a shed with a broken arm. I ain't scared of suits." He hung up. Lila went bigger. She parked outside the feed store and filmed a tearful video by the town sign, a woman alone in Texas, painting herself as a victim of Hank's lawless wrath. It went viral, picked up by a city women's group, complete with a GoFundMe for her safety. I was furious, but Hank stayed too quiet. Then, on Sunday, he met with the ranch council for old-timers who'd seen it all. They hatched a plan. "We're playing chess now," Hank said. "And I just moved the queen." The next escalation was literal garbage bags, leaking and reeking, dumped on our road with Lila's name on a Target receipt. Hank didn't rant. He polished a shovel like it was a holy relic. We piled her trash into a pyramid on her lawn, topped with a flamingo wearing a tinfoil crown. Lila called Sheriff Tom, who just stared at the pile and said, "What am I arresting him for? Creative recycling?" By afternoon, the town was buzzing. Kids on bikes, folks in golf carts, everyone came to see Lila's trash tower. It hit the town's Facebook page, captioned, "Lila's Monument of Shame." We thought she'd back off. Nope. At midnight, our motion lights caught her tossing bags into our pond, turning it into a swamp of wrappers and soggy cardboard. "She's poisoning our water," Hank growled. The ranch council met again, this time with half the county farmers, teachers, even the diner cook. They built a 20-foot totem of Lila's junk on our land's edge, lit by solar lights, with a sign, "We return what's yours." Lila called everyone, the mayor, the county, even a news station. No one bit. The town had chosen sides. Then Lila announced she was leaving, filming a dramatic video in front of the totem, mascara streaking, calling us savages. But Hank wasn't buying it. "She's not going," he said. "She's performing." Sure enough, she stayed, and the feud hit the courthouse. Lila filed for a restraining order, claiming Hank's lawn installations were harassment. Hank brought photos of her midnight dumps. The judge, weary as a mule, issued a 30-day no-contact order. Lila smirked. Hank just nodded. A new player entered, a documentary crew led by a guy named Ethan, chasing rural drama. Lila had pitched them her story, but they pivoted to Hank, calling him authentic Americana. I worried they'd twist his image, so I snuck photos of Lila's backyard, a junkyard of rotting furniture and an old piano. I emailed them to the county inspector. By Friday, Lila got a code violation notice: clean up or pay fines. She looked defeated when she knocked on our door, offering a truce and a wild pitcha web series about our reconciliation. Hank stared. "I don't care about fame. I care about winning." She left, quiet for once. Then came the storm. Tornado warnings, green skies, and Lila's dog, trapped by the flooding creek. I ran for it, but Hank beat me, leaping the ditch to save the mutt. Lila collapsed, whispering, "Thank you, Hank." The crew tried to film, but Hank chased them off. They left, and their project was scrapped for being too unfocused. Lila's porch went quiet. Her signs came down. When her fence fell in the storm, Hank helped rebuild it. They worked in silence, passing nails, not words. Lila started cleaning her yard, hauling junk to a trailer, even waving at neighbors. Hank got an offer from a reality show, Legends of the Dust, wanting him as a cowboy icon. To my shock, he said yes. The night before he left, Lila brought a repaired chair from her old dump pile, sanded and stained. "Guess you learned to fix things," Hank said. She nodded. "Still learning." Hank drove off in a fancy RV, his saddle strapped to the back. Lila stayed, joining the feed store runs and the town's pancake breakfast. She even helped fundraise for the rodeo arena. One day, she asked if Hank would return. "Maybe when the land calls him," I said. She laughed, soft and real. On her porch now sits a bench, half Hank's scrapwood, half her old junk, sturdy and honest. Beside it, the chair she fixed for him. The road stays clear. The pond's clean. And sometimes, I hear Hank's whistle in the wind. What do you think of this story? Was Hank's retaliation justified? Or did he go too far? How would you handle someone like Lila? Share your thoughts below, especially on navigating conflict and justice in tight-knit communities. Let's hear your take.